Welcome back. So we're going to do example 1 in the notes, and I'm going to walk you through how this works. So make sure you have a calculator handy and you're taking good notes. So in this problem, it's asking us to find the missing angle. And if you notice, I have the angle X here that I'm looking for, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label the sides that I'm given and then decide which formula makes sense. So I notice that the 400 is next to the angle, right? So if you're next to the angle, this must be the adjacent angle, okay? The other thing I notice is that the 300 is across from the X. So across from is opposite, so this must be my opposite side, okay? Now, technically, this side here across from the right angle is my hypotenuse. Okay, so let's think about what formula makes sense. At this stage, I only have two pieces of information. I know my adjacent side and I know my opposite side. I do not know my hypotenuse at all. So what I want to do is find a formula that has the two items that I know. I want to look for a formula that has opposite and adjacent. So let's look at our three formulas here. Should we use formula number 1, inverse sine? Well, I would say no, right? Because although we know the opposite, we don't have the hypotenuse, right? The hypotenuse is not listed. Same logic applies to number 2. We do not have the hypotenuse, so we cannot use formula 2. But we can use formula 3. We have the opposite side and we have the adjacent side. So let's actually use this formula to solve for the angle. So I'm going to copy this formula exactly, right? So theta equals inverse tangent of opposite over adjacent. And then we're literally just going to substitute, okay? So theta stays here. That's what we're looking for. That's the unknown. And the good thing is the unknown is already by itself. So there's not really a lot of math we have to do. It's already by itself. Then we're going to say tangent inverse. You just sort of write that out. And we're going to plug in the opposite and adjacent side. So the opposite side is 300. So we're going to put a 300 on the numerator. And the adjacent side is 400. So we're going to put a 400 on the denominator. Okay, so literally at this point, you actually type this entire thing in your calculator and then you get an answer. So I'm going to show you my calculator and then you can kind of, if you don't have one of these, you can either use a scientific calculator or on your cell phone, actually, you have the inverse trig functions. So let me show you kind of how it works. In this kind of calculator, well, first you have to turn it on. You want to go to second. What are we using? We're using inverse tangent. So second, inverse tangent. So you want this little inverse button to come up, all right? And in almost any calculator, you can find this button. So you just have to figure out where it is on your calculator. And then you're literally gonna type in 300 divided by 400. And then you close the parentheses and it comes back with a number and that is your answer. You just wanna make sure you're in degrees. So I'm just gonna round to the nearest 10th. This is 36.9 degrees, okay? So the answer is 36.9 degrees. And that is how big this angle X is, okay? Now, just a quick note, even though I call this angle X, theta is the same thing, really. It's just standing for the missing angle. So don't let the variables fool you. Theta is the missing angle, and you can call the missing angle X, Y, Z, whatever you want. So the final answer is 36.9 degrees.